Good afternoon and welcome to Verses and Paragraphs. It is the 8th of May 2018. I know some people have birthdays today, but there is one particular birthday that stands out, and that is the birthday of my sister Elohor's program, Arise with Elohor. She started 365 days ago. That is when it is not a leap year. I can't remember whether it's a leap year, but Verses and Paragraphs is wishing Arise with Elohor a very super first anniversary today. Now, how was your day yesterday? And how many Monday greens were you able to find out? You know, on our program here, besides the fact that they say we speak big grammar, yes, but it's good because English is our lingua franca. And not only is it our lingua franca, at times it behoves upon us to be able to speak our lingua franca as near possible as to the native speakers speak it. We're not saying that we can speak the English properly, but it's good to get our tenses right. Now, Ali Gadanga, thank you so much for joining our live broadcast. Today is the 8th of May 2018. It rained this morning heavily. In fact, you know, the normal saying is it rained cats and dogs, but the other day one of my friends said it was raining tomatoes and oranges. English language is flexible and we can use language the way we like. A couple of days ago we were talking about idioms, and you know that idioms are figurative expressions, that the words that are said in idiomatic expressions do not necessarily convey a literal meaning. And that's why when you say it's raining cats and dogs, you don't go outside and then you do not see cats and dogs falling from the sky. It just means it is falling, the rain is falling heavily. Today I want to talk about cliches. But when I was looking up cliches, it sounded so much like idiomatic expressions that I really had to look at them. Cliches. What is a cliche? A cliche is a phrase or noun that is overused and betrays a lack of original thought. There are so many cliches in English language. And in printing, it is called a cliche is a stereotype or a lectrotype. Simply put, cliches are boring. Now, a cliche may also refer to actions and events that are predictable because of some previous events. All examples of cliches are expressions that were once new and fresh. Now, try to find out what is the origin of this cliche, and it has a very interesting origin. The word cliche has French origins. Now, it says that in those days when they were printing presses, I don't know how they print these days, but in those days when printing presses were used, the cast iron plate that reproduced the intended word, phrase, or image was called a stereotype. Now, the noise that the casting plate made sounded when it is hitting bang bang, it sounded like cliche, from cliché, meaning to click in French. So this onomatopoeic word conveying how something sounds became the printer's jargon for the stereotype. Stereotype is the cast iron that is used to print, that they used to print. I don't know whether they still use it to print because I haven't been to a printing press in recent times. Anyhow, that is how cliche came to mean a word or phrase that gets repeated often. And Dr. Alfred James, my brother from another mother, is watching. Thank you so much for joining us on the live broadcast all the way from Ejigbo here in Lagos. It is far. I think a lot of us are here in Lagos, but it is actually, I don't know where Ali Gadanga is watching from. I would really love to know where you're watching from. Anyway, thank you, like I said earlier on, for joining our broadcast. Dr. Raphael James, today we're talking about cliches as opposed to idiomatic expressions. We know that idiomatic expressions are figurative expressions from who you cannot convey the meaning from the expression. Like it's raining cats and dogs is an idiomatic expression. It actually rained cats and dogs this morning. In fact, I'm sure if I had looked out, if I was able to look out, I may have seen some cats and dogs falling from the sky. And then the other day it was raining. Funke Awodiah, the farmer's daughter, said that it was raining tomatoes and oranges. Everybody has their own form of expression. Anyhow, today we're talking about cliches. Benjamin, thank God your name long. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Abuja. Thank you for joining our live broadcast. Today we're talking about cliches. Now, what are cliches? Cliches are phrases that are overused and betrays a lack of original thought. In fact, if you use cliches too much, your speech tends to be boring. And I was just talking about how the origin of the word cliche, it has French origins. I'm saying in those days when printing presses were used, the cast iron plates that reproduced the intended word or phrase was called a stereotype. And the noise that the casting plate made when it was being used sounded like cliche, from cliché, meaning to click in French. And so this onomatopoeic word conveying how something sounds became the printer's jargon for the stereotype. Thus, cliché came to mean a word or phrase that gets repeated of, when you keep on, when in printing press, when you keep on bum, bum, bum. So that is how clichés came about. Now, clichés can be categorized in two ways. One, as an overused expression, something that is said a lot and has become so common, it is no longer even noticed in conversation. Phrases such as "to this day," "the next thing I knew," all these ones are cliches. We often say them without noticing that we're using a cliche in language. Then the second way in which they are used as an idea with a different meaning from its literal meaning. For instance, the phrases "sweaty palms," "twinkling eyes" have come to mean more than the fact that your palms are sweaty or your eyes have a twinkle in them. There's one girl, I always call her Starry Eyes because her eyes are always twinkling. I call her Starry Eyes. In fact, she loves that name. There was one day she called and I didn't know who was calling. I said, "Who is this? Starry Eyes." She likes that expression because her eyes were actually twinkling. But like I said, cliches are categorized in two ways. One, as an overused expression, and two, as an idea with a different meaning from its literal meaning. And this one, talk about sweaty palms or twinkling eyes. You could possibly say that a person who has sweaty palms, we're going to give it another meaning other than its literal meaning, is possibly nervous. When you say someone has sweaty palms, they could be literally, yes, okay, he has sweaty palms. And then on the other hand, the cliche could actually mean that the person is nervous. And then likewise, a person with a twinkle in their eyes has a special fondness for someone in particular, aside from the twinkle in their eyes, like my starry-eyed friend Esther. Now, I'm going to read out some popular cliches, and I have 3 gentlemen I can see are online now, and I would love if you could give me some examples of cliches that you know of or that you make use of. I'll be reading out some, but it will also, I would appreciate it if you could actually send me some cliches. Now, just because a phrase is overused doesn't mean it is true. It simply loses its lustrous appeal through overusage. I'm waiting, gentlemen. Ali Kadanga, Dr. Rafa James, and Benjamin Akin today. Thank God. Master Toastmaster. Are you a grandmaster yet in Toastmasters? Anyway, here are some of these common cliche sayings. All that glitters is not gold. And of course, unlike an idiomatic expression where the words that you hear do not convey literal meaning, these words actually convey that glitters is not gold. So you have that somebody sees something and they think, oh, it's going to be exciting and nice, and you are given a warning. All that glitters is not gold. You might think it is nice. It's not particularly nice. Then don't get your knickers in a twist. Literally, don't get all worked up. All for one, one for all. And many people like using that. Some clubs, they even use that one as their motto, or they use it on the logo. Kiss and makeup. Let's kiss and makeup. And that is a literal meaning. Kiss. I'm still waiting for these gentlemen who are listening to me. Ali Gadanga, Dr. Rafa James, and Benjamin. Thank God. Benjamin me a Toastmaster, and I think that by now you should be able to send me some cliches. I'm waiting, Benjamin, thank God, waiting for you to send me some cliches so I can read it out on the program. Anyhow, that notwithstanding, I'm still the common cliche sayings that I have. He has his tail between his legs. Everybody knows what that means. What the words say is what they mean. And they lived happily ever after. Oh, we always get to hear that one in stories. They lived happily ever after. And then when you are talking, maybe you've been bragging, and all of a sudden somebody keeps you quiet. Did the cat get your tongue? That's a cliche. Another one, read between the lines. Some say, read my lips. Read between the lines. Some people say, read my lips. Then there's someone woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. When you wake up and you are behaving one kind, this person must have woken up from the wrong side of the bed. We are not laughing at you, we are laughing with you. And then another thing, I remember during the week after, on the day we spoke about idioms, I now put up an idiomatic expression on my Facebook page, on my Facebook wall, and I asked people to give the Nigerian form. Now, the word was, her voice is full of money, which means she's very rich. And so I asked people to give the Nigerian version. So many people kept on giving different versions. She's loaded, she bath, she hold, all those different kind of expressions that we use in Nigeria to mean that someone is rich. And then someone said, but I don't even know if Nigeria has idioms. What are you talking about? Because idiom is an English word. Of course, we have Nigerian idiomatic expressions, because if you say that she's loaded, the woman gather, he hold. I mean, it doesn't have any literal meaning to show that she is rich. And if we're using that one, it means we also have idiomatic expressions. The fact that idiom, you define it in English, doesn't mean that Nigeria does not have idiomatic expressions. Now, saying that these are cliches. These gentlemen, you people are quiet too. Nothing saying. All right, the cliches that describe time. Only time will tell. Time will tell. They use that one a lot. It has become so boring. Time will tell. When somebody has done something to you, I don't know what to say, sir. Time will tell. And then in the nick of time. Lost track of time. Lasted an eternity. Just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time, and he will get his just desserts. It's a waste of time. I'm rushed for time. Please, can you say, I'm sorry, I'm rushed for time. I won't be able to do that for you. In a jiffy. Oh, I use that a lot. The time of my life. I'm having the time of my life. At the speed of light. Now, this gentleman, are you people still watching, or you've gone off? But I like you to send me some cliches. Now, cliches that describe people. As old as the hills. That man is as old as the hills. Mandela was as old as the hills before he passed on. As fit as a fiddle. He's just going on the merry way without a care in the world. A diamond in the rough. Brave as a lion. Weak as a kitten. Had nerves of steel. That guy is as ugly as sin. That is wicked. That is wicked. So for those of you, I'm still waiting for my people who are watching. Thank you so much for the likes, but I will like you to give me some examples of cliches. Now today we're talking cliches. I know cliches are overused expressions and they get boring over time. You so use them, they get boring over time. Now, these are cliches that describe love, life, and emotions. Opposites attract. Every cloud has a silver lining. Don't cry over spilt milk. Don't cry over spilt milk. How many times I've used that one? The calm before the storm. Laughter is the best medicine. In fact, some people I know have seen some vehicles that have this one inscribed on them. Laughter is the best. And remember, cliches, the words they use are their literal meanings, as opposed to idiomatic expressions where the words you use do not actually convey the literal meaning. And Bridget Ese and my favorite family is watching from Dallas in Texas in the United States of America. Okay, they're actually in Mesquite. So Ovo, Daffy, and Angel, I know you're watching. Thank you so much for joining live. Well, yeah, my family, my favorite family. Today we're talking about cliches. Cliches as overused expressions. And when you use cliches too often, they become boring. And I've been asking the people who are watching to give me examples of cliches. I started reading out some. For instance, you have all that glitters is not gold. A couple of days ago, when you guys were not on, we talked about idioms. And idioms, idiomatic expressions, the words that are used do not convey the literal meaning. As in, this one actually happened this morning in Lagos. It rained cats and dogs. Well, you and I both know that if we step out, you are not going to see cats and dogs falling from the sky. But that's just to mean that it is raining heavily. And so I've been asking the people who are watching to give the example of cliches. We have all that glitters is not gold. This is a cliche as opposed to an idiomatic expression. And they lived happily ever after. That's a cliche. Cat got your tongue, read between the lines. Someone woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. Buchi Njere, thank you so much for joining our live broadcast. I don't know where Buchi is watching from. Buchi, where are you watching from? Are you watching from Abuja or here in Lagos or outside the country? I would love to know. And then there are also cliches that describe time. Only time will tell. In the nick of time. In just a matter of time, you will know who he's talking to. It's a waste. I'm rushed for time. Essie, do you remember that one? Bridget, I'm rushed for time. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm rushed for time. I cannot help you plait your hair. I'm rushed for time. Oh, can I have a cup of tea? Sorry, I'm rushed for time. That's a cliche. I'm having the time of my life. That's a cliche. At the speed of light. These are cliches that describe time, and these other ones are cliches that describe people. I have butterflies in my stomach. Break a leg, break a leg. Butterfly. When you break a leg, I think it should be an idiomatic expression. Break a leg, because break a leg means, in fact, when you use break a leg is like, especially when you're going to, so break a leg is like a form of encouragement. They do not actually mean you should break a leg. I have butterflies in my stomach. Yes, that could be a cliche. Great, thank you so much for that one. You see, and the other gentlemen who are so quiet, or have they gone off air? Now, cliches that describe people as old as the hills, fit as a fiddle, without a care. He was just going his merry way without, as if he had no care in the world. As brave as a lion, weak as a kitten, had nerves of sin, and that dog is as ugly as sin. Then cliches that describe love, life, and emotions. Opposites attract. Every cloud has a silver lining. Don't cry over spilt milk. Laughter is the best medicine. I have seen cars in Nigeria, buses, vehicles where they have written laughter is the best medicine. It's a cliche, and we've so used it. I love you more than life itself. Yeah, I love you more than life itself, really. I was frightened to death, scared out of my wits. All is fair in love and war. All's well that ends well. I think that one, Shakespeare used that one. Haste makes waste. The writing is on the wall. Time heals all wounds. What goes around comes around. There are so many people who use that one as like a karma kind of thing. You do this one, don't worry. What goes around comes around. As you've done, it's going to come back again to you. So cliches, aside from the fact that they are boring and overused, they give literal meanings, as opposed to idioms or idiomatic expressions where the words that have been used do not convey the literal meaning. Then, this is another popular one. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Who hasn't heard that one, and who hasn't used that one? Head over heels in love. That guy is head over heels in love with that girl, or with his schoolwork, or with his boss, or with his car, but it's a cliche. They have a gut-wrenching pain, heart-stopping fear. Heart-stopping fear. Now in cliches, many cliches, they have hidden meanings. Some cliches have hidden meanings, which is strange because I would have thought it was just possibly the idioms. But I discovered that many cliches have meanings that are obvious, and others have meanings that are only clear if you know the context. Now this one, I didn't even know this one, but I found this one online. For example, the cliche, any port in a storm has a hidden meaning. Now the obvious meaning is that in a bad situation, anything will do. However, this cliche can also be used when talking about someone who has many lovers. So when you say any port in a storm, literally the obvious meaning is that, like maybe it's raining and you got caught in the rain and you are running along the road, and then you just say any port in the storm, I can go there, any situation, any situation. In a bad situation, anything will do. So those are cliches that have hidden meanings. Then there are also cliches which have context-driven meanings. Based on their context, some cliches can be interpreted differently, based on the context in which they have been used. For example, do you think I'm made of money? And it's like I'm made of money. Both sound similar, but you need the context to be able to understand or determine if the speaker is saying this to complain or brag. Do you think I'm made of money implies you don't have any money. No, people just keep on coming and asking for, do you think I'm made of money? The person is not bragging, the person is complaining. I'm made of money. So this cliche has a context-driven meaning. And then the other one is it's like I'm made of money implies that I have tons of money. So depending on the context in which they are used, cliches could have context-driven meanings. So we've talked about cliches that have hidden meanings and also cliches that have context-driven meanings. Now, like I said earlier on before most people came on, when I was doing this write-up on cliches, it sounded to me like cliches and idioms could be the same thing. That was why when Bridget was asking butterflies in my stomach, could it be a cliche? Could it be an idiom? So there are these differences between cliches and idioms. Cliches and idioms are both phrases. We use them in everyday language. For you, there's no way, if you listen to if you are able to record or remember what you are saying throughout the day, you would have used some idiomatic expressions and you would have also used some cliches. Now, a cliche is a common phrase or an expression which has been so used so many times since it first originated that with the changing times and its overuse, it has lost its true meaning. Overuse makes it boring too. For example, easy as pie, piece of cake. Just keep on saying easy peasy. Then idioms, on the other hand, are phrases which are always figurative. Always. We're talking about idioms. We're talking about idioms a couple of days ago, and some of the examples I had, you say it's a hot potato. When you say someone is a hot potato, that means everybody wants it. It's not that the potato is hot. That's not so you look at an idiomatic expression in the context, not of its literal meaning, because the words that are used do not in any way convey the meaning. It's only a figurative meaning they have. A penny for your thoughts. That's an idiomatic expression. Are you going to pay the person for their thoughts? Actions speak louder than words. Okay, yeah, you could get that one. Yeah, what you're saying. Then back to the drawing board. Start all over again. Ball is in your court. Best thing since sliced bread. Cost an arm and a leg. I'm just reading out idioms as we read them a couple of days ago. And you say that someone kicked the bucket. If you kick a bucket, you hurt your toe, you hurt your foot. But kicking the bucket here is a euphemism for saying the person died. Let sleeping dogs lie. Of course, who wants to go and wake a sleeping dog so that they will bite them? So these are idiomatic expressions as opposed to cliches, which are overused and boring. So idioms are phrases which are always figurative. They cannot be literally understood and are unique to every culture and language, which brings me to what I was saying earlier on. The fact that there is idiom in English does not mean that in our own country, Nigeria, we do not have Nigerian idiomatic expressions. A couple of days ago on my Facebook wall, I put up a sentence that was taken from a book or a film, which says, "Her voice is full of money." And the person who said that one meant that the woman was rich. And so I put it up and I now asked people to give Nigerian versions of "a woman is rich." And of course, our people went to town again. I don't know that's I think that must be a cliche. They went to town. And I had all sorts of expressions like "the woman is loaded, she bath, her voice gets oil there, her voice," the different. And then one of my friends after giving said, "But I do not think that Nigeria has idioms." Nigeria has idiomatic expressions as long as what you're saying. For instance, if you say "the woman bath," you're not talking about the woman going to go and have a bath. In the context in which it's said, in the area or the part of Nigeria which it is said, it's people understand it to mean that the woman is rich. What am I trying to say? Nigeria has got idiomatic expressions. Even though there are about 25,000 idioms in English language, Nigeria may also have as many, because for everything that happens, people have come up unique to our culture and where we grew up. They have come up with expressions to describe certain situations. So please, never ever you look down on Nigeria and Nigerian languages. Nigerians have idiomatic expressions. So I was talking about idioms. For instance, say he got cold feet on his wedding day, which actually means he got scared. If you try to translate it literally, it will hardly mean what is supposed to be expressed. And that's how you can differentiate between a cliche and an idiomatic expression. So in summary, cliches are phrases which have been overused and have become very common and boring. Idioms are phrases which are not so overused and the vocabulary needs to be built to learn to use them. And then cliches are figurative as well as literal. Idioms are transparent and opaque. And on the other hand, some idioms can also be figurative cliches. Now, this one, to those of you who want to write as opposed to want to speak, using idioms is considered a sign of good writing. However, using cliches in writing is considered poor writing, because they will say, okay, you lack original thought. Because cliches have become to be so overused, if anyone is using them, they say that the person lacks original thought. And that brings me to our word of the day. This word of the day, I think all of us, even though it is a noun, most of us have got this word of the day. In fact, I can say that 99.9% of us who are even watching, or me that I'm speaking, have this word of the day. And our word for the day is infomania. Infomania is a noun, and it is spelled INFOMANIA. And infomania is an obsessive need to constantly check emails, social media websites, online news, etc. Hello FM is my sister, my kid sister, watching from Edinburgh. Today, her program that she started a year ago marks its first anniversary. So hello, Verses and Paragraphs, on behalf of everyone watching, would like to wish you a very happy birthday. Not you. Arise with Eloho is a program she does every morning on her online Christian radio from 7 to 8 in the morning, and it's turned 1 today. Yes, hello, you're an infomaniac. Me, I'm an infomaniac. Infomania. Let me show you the word infomania. So how many of you are infomaniacs? Hey, my favorite family in Dallas. How many of you are infomaniacs? Infomania. Infomania is those of us, because I am there too. Infomania is an obsessive need. So some of us, once we wake up first thing in the morning, I'm counting myself for first thing in the morning, if I do not check Facebook, it was as if my day hasn't started. So infomania is an obsessive need to constantly check emails, social media websites, online news, and the like. And its origin, infomania is a modern combination of information, and mania. Mania means, mania is crazy, and it entered English in the 1970s. Somehow, I don't know how, I managed to forget to write a quotable quote today. Now, our quotable quotes in this season are on libraries. Pastor Joe Jesimielugbe, my schoolmates, my classmate from the University of Jos, as class of 86. You know, so we don't taste small, class of 86. Joe Jesimielugbe, alias Ashana, is watching all the way from here in Lagos. One far place, it's Lagos, but it's far. So thank you for joining our live broadcast. We've been talking about cliches today, and all of you are coming on now. It's now that I'm trying to sign off that you're all coming. And anyway, I just give a quick run through for those of you who are just joining. Very quick run through, talking about cliches, which are phrases or nouns that are overused and betray a lack of original thought. Ashana, fire. Joe Gibbs, Ashana. We've been talking about cliches today. A couple of days ago, we talked about idioms. They are both phrases that we use in our everyday language. And while you can use idioms in writing, if you use cliches in writing, it is considered poor writing. So for those of you, and it's always good to check them up. That's why I always like Googling things. If people tell me things, I don't just take it hook, line, and sinker. Now that hook, line, and sinker, I think is a cliche. And like I said, there's no way you talk throughout the day you would have used cliches or idiomatic expressions. Now, while idioms, you cannot get their literal meaning from the way they have been said. Cliches, you can get their literal meaning. And for instance, all that glitters is not gold is a cliche. Don't get your knickers in the twist is a cliche. All for one for all. Lived happy ever after. Most writers use that one. Most people, when they're telling stories, they lived happily ever after. Cat got your tongue, read between the lines. Every cloud has a silver lining. As old as the hills, fit as a fiddle. I am rushed for time. The time of my life. I'm having the time of my life. That's a cliche. Now, these cliches, the way they are written is the way they are, as opposed to idiomatic expressions. Idiomatic expressions where they do not necessarily convey their literal meaning from the way they are written. You want to kill two birds with a stone. Are you actually going to take one stone and kill two birds? If you get what I mean, that's an idiomatic expression. Killing two birds with a stone. You're not going to kill her. Are you that cruel? Well, you're not going to eat the birds. But what it means is that you see two opportunities, and so you use one. You see two things that you really want, and so you use one opportunity to get hold of two of them. And you say something costs an arm and a leg. Are you going to cut off your arm and a leg? Because if you cut off your arm and a leg, that is highly expensive, and so that's what it means. You hit the nail on the head. I don't go about hitting the nail on the head. Let sleeping dogs lie. At the drop of, all these ones I'm telling you, they are idiomatic expressions. I'm trying to draw the difference between idiomatic expressions and cliches. Cliches, you can say them and I remember we're talking about idiomatic expressions, and then we talked about numerical idioms, and then we talked about food idioms, and today we're talking about cliches. Food idioms, easy advice like apple and oranges, the big cheese is going bad. These are all food idioms, and today we are talking about cliches. All that glitters is not good. Which one again? What goes around comes around. When life gives lemons, make lemonade. Head over heels in love. Who hasn't used that one? Let's go back to the drawing board. It's just a matter of time. I'm having the time of my life. All these ones are cliches. So when you are writing, use idioms, but do not use cliches because they have become boring. And if you're using cliches when you are writing, it shows that you are lacking original thought. Like I said, our word of the day is infomania. And infomania is an obsessive need to constantly check emails, social media websites, and online news. And I think based on that, I'd like to sign off now. Somehow I forgot to write. Okay, no, before I sign off, I told you our quotable quotes is on libraries this season. And the reason why our quotable quotes is on libraries is because we are trying to help bring back the book reading culture. And I went to a school here in Surulere. It's a government secondary school, junior and senior secondary, and it is for hearing and hearing impaired children with autism and Down syndrome, but their library does not have books. So why our quotable quotes this season is on libraries is because we want people to help us, or let's give back to the society by giving out, by donating books to the library. So if you have books that your children have outgrown and they are piling up dust, instead of throwing them away, please send them to us here in Lagos so that we can donate them to the library of this government secondary school here in Surulere for hearing and hearing impaired children. And on that note, I'd like to say thank you everyone who has tuned in to watch today. It's been nice and cool because it rained cats and dogs this morning. In fact, the farmer's daughter says it rained tomatoes and oranges. Anyway, thanks so much for joining our live broadcast. Tomorrow is another day. I'd like to join everyone joining from America, from Abuja, from Edinburgh, from Lagos here. Thank you so much for joining our live broadcast. Tomorrow is another day, and I'll see you. Chip chip. Thank you so much. Bye bye.